sorry that we're starting a little bit late this morning. We had a few little glitches with our camera setup, but I'm very pleased to be here and to be hosting another virtual tour. Virtual town hall. With me today is our council member, Melissa Fox. And also joining us are our distinguished guests that will describe our business community's readiness to open and answer all of your questions, or at least the questions we can take in within this next hour before us. So I'd like to now turn to our Councilmember Fox for any remarks you might have before we get started. Nice to have you with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. One of the biggest questions we've had is how do we get our business community back up and running? So as we navigate forward in COVID-19, it's critical that these conversations take place with our business community. And I want to thank you all for being here today. I know that it takes your time, but not just to be here today, but all the effort that it's taken to prepare for reopening and to handle the problems that our shutdown has caused. So there's much to be done. We have challenging hurdles to face, and I'm glad we can do it all together. So we're here to have an open, informative conversation about resources, reopening, readiness, and much more. So thank you again for being here today.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Fox. And now I'd like to ask our distinguished panel to introduce themselves, including sharing your organization's response to COVID-19. So let's begin with Brian Starr, President and CEO of the Greater Irvine Chamber. Then we'll go to Lucy Dunn, President and CEO of Orange County Business Council. Then Mike Daniel, Regional Director of Orange County and Inland Empire Small Business Development Center. And Ken Gillette, Senior Vice President, Operations, Irvine Company Retail Properties. And then I'll turn to my left to Caitlin Nguyen, our Manager of Economic Development for the City of Irvine. So welcome this morning. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me start by saying how appreciative our organization and our board of directors and the business community is for the work that you've all done. In particular, Mayor, working with us on resourcing and figuring out how we can best address a reopening. Caitlin Nguyen in particular has been very helpful at the city. Together, we've reached out to 21,000 businesses individually and trying to give them the resources that they need, whether it be for PPP or EIDL loans, working with SBDC. We've been very active in trying to get them all the things that they need as they struggle through this very tough time. Let me say that the Chamber of Commerce is at the forefront of trying to offer for a reopening and preparing for what that might look like. Our business community is struggling. Our hotels are closing. We're looking at how we can, through Destination Irvine, try to figure out how do we reposition ourselves as a destination? How do we reopen quickly for events and programs and marketing? All of those things are very, very challenging for us right now, but the partnership with the city has been very important to us. And I really do commend all of the council members, the mayor, the city manager staff, everyone for all of wrapping their arms around the business community and understanding how important it is to get our economy back on track. We've also worked with a number of our restaurants trying to make sure that we keep them in business as we promote what they are offering. We've worked with community partners we have a lot of community heroes that we've been working with, promoting all of the great things that are happening in this tragedy that we're facing. There are a lot of good things, but we're in this together, and so we appreciate this opportunity to be here at this town hall and let people know what resources are available to them. Let businesses know that we're here. Whether they're a member or not, it does not matter. We are here for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you all. Thank you very much, Mayor Shea and Councilmember Fox. Really appreciate the opportunity to do this, and for all of the folks that are watching at home. Lucy Dunn, as I was introduced, Orange County Business Council CEO. Orange County Business Council is based right here in Irvine, and we're comprised of some of the top globally impacting companies that Orange County is proud to share as members. We're celebrating actually our 25th anniversary today, and our job is to work with all of these businesses, with our government, academia, and to promote the county's economic prosperity while maintaining a high quality of life. We particularly enjoy working with our chambers of commerce and, Brian Starr, his amazing leadership and his team at the Greater Irvine Chamber of Commerce. It is times like this where that membership in your local chamber, in your business council, has never produced more for you. Our role at the Business Council has been in this time, you gotta be able to answer the question when this is all over, what did you do to help folks get through the great pandemic? It's not business as usual right now. And so at OCBC, we're really working hard. We retooled our newsletter, for example. Instead of coming out once every 2 weeks with information for the business community, it now comes out daily, trying to connect resources, people, businesses, get that information that you need in real time every single day in the morning, whatever the city of Irvine is doing, whatever the chamber is doing, we try to connect that. SBA has been a remarkable resource, and we're grateful for all of your work there to make sure that those businesses, to stay in business as long as they can, have the resources to be able to do that. In addition, on Mondays, we put out a little once a week a newsletter called TLC for OC, and we tried to do it, collaborate with so many nonprofits to pull together where can you get food, where can you get senior help, help for vets, childcare, even pet care. We pulled together just that once a week little email to do resources for you so that you'll be able to connect with just those essentials of being able to feed your family and educate your children. In addition, we're working as well on our webpage, ocbc.org. We need our business community to get prepared to reopen. So again, working with our chambers, Irvine Chamber, Anaheim Chamber, Santa Ana Chamber, North Orange County Chambers, we pulled together a resource page for all of your businesses called Reopen OC Safely. If you click on OCBC's webpage and go through, you'll find that link. It will connect you with the link to what the state is requiring you to reopen by industry sector, what the county guidelines are, and actually then it even gives guidelines as well by your industry sector on details that you may find helpful. And if you happen to be one of those businesses that don't quite fit into any particular category, there's also a link for you to email us so we can advocate for you to get you those standards so you can reopen quickly. It's really important that you prepare. Do you have your plan for social distancing? Do you have your plan for cleaning? Do you have your plan ready for touchless transactions, et cetera? This is a great resource page for you to kind of get that information and get going. Oh, by the way, side note, Irvine Company has done this brilliantly for any of their tenants. So if you happen to be one of their people, take a look at those emails that they send to you. They'll give you some great resources as well. Last but not least, I'm very proud to say that we've been working very hard with the County of Orange. As you know, the governor has established a 4-stage plan. We're currently in the middle of the beginning of stage 2 and trying to work to get our businesses open through stage 2, including restaurants and shopping malls, et cetera, and move into stage 3 for the higher risk businesses. I'm proud to share with you today that the County of Orange has met all of their requirements and is filing their letter of attestation to the state, go in this morning. The governor's offices will review it and then make a decision and hopefully post it to the website. And we're crossing our fingers that we'll be into the end of stage 2 and get that next level of businesses opened this weekend. So keep your fingers crossed, and we'll work on that next. Then we'll work on stage 3, because the earlier we get you guys all up in operation, the faster we can kickstart our economy. So consider us a resource. Again, those business organizations that you've known and loved for decades, we are working. I mean, I don't think I've ever worked harder. I know Brian's never worked harder. Those 12-hour days when you're working from home seem endless, but it's all for the good of you and to kickstart that economy back up and get all ships to rise. So thank you very much for the opportunity to share. Just a couple quick thoughts.
Thank you very much, CEO Dunn. I did get a call last night from Supervisor Bartlett telling me that they are applying with the state now to see if we can go into phase 3 and start opening businesses. So
Awesome.
we're all getting excited
We're
and
all getting
seeing what
excited.
comes forward. We need it, and we need to get back to work. So thank you very
Absolutely.
much,
Thank you,
both of
Mayor.
you, for your comments.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Perfect. My name is Mike Daniel, and I'm the Regional Director for the Orange County Inland Empire Small Business Development Center. I'm happy to be here, so thank you, Mayor and Councilmember, for inviting us. We are a program that's really funded by the Small Business Administration. We've been around for more than 40 years, and we cover Orange County Inland Empire, and we are run out of Cal State Fullerton. So our headquarters are actually at our Cal State Fullerton Irvine campus. And as we've really come to this pandemic, our job right now is to help people through the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Paycheck Protection Program. So we do that in a couple ways. One, we have a daily webinar at 3 o'clock where we have somebody from the Office of Disaster Assistance on the call and lenders talking about the Paycheck Protection Program. And then we work with you one-on-one through these programs. So I'm sure, just like many people, I believe there's about 5 million applications in the queue for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan that you haven't heard anything yet, possibly. We can help you figure out where you are at in the queue. We can also help you figure out what to do when you receive an interesting email that doesn't make any sense, but you just received $150,000 and don't know why. Yeah, or you asked for a lot of money and you received a little bit. So we can help you through all those pieces. Like I said, it's one-on-one. Our program's funded by the federal government and the state of California and Cal State Fullerton, so you don't pay for our service. It's already been paid for. I think that's probably the great part about what we do. And many of us, there's about 100 of us consultants in our office. Most of us are small business owners as well, going through the exact same struggles that you're going through. And just to give you a quick, for example, I own a couple Rocky Mountain chocolate factories and a candy store in Long Beach, and have opened one store and I have 2 that are closed, but what do I do with my employees? How do I make sure that they're safe and protected if I do bring them back? What does curbside delivery really mean? What happens if I just open up? What's going to happen? So we help you through all of those pieces and really help you build a recovery plan for you individually, because every recovery plan for every business is going to look a little bit different. As we opened, I had 12 employees in one store. 4 did not want to come back because they make more on unemployment. Between pandemic unemployment assistance and unemployment, they're making almost $1,000 a week, which is a lot more than I can pay them. So trying to figure out how that works with Paycheck Protection Program, and I have to spend 75% over here and do 25% over here. We will help you pencil that out as to what that means. And as we start to build a recovery plan for your business, how do I set up social distancing in a 1,000 square foot space? That's a difficult task when I only have 1 register and I only have 2 employees and I can't provide PPE for all of my employees because they can't get it. So we'll help you figure all those pieces out. But our number is 1-800-616-7232, or you can go to our website at ociesmallbusiness.org. Like I said, we're a free service for you, and it's not that it's free, it's already been paid for, so it's a very different service as to what you might expect. Like I said, you're dealing with a business owner that's dealing with the exact same struggles on the other side. So with that, thank you again for having us, and I'll turn it over to Ken.
Thank you so very much. Kendra.
Great. Well, Mayor Shea, Councilmember Fox, Caitlin, thank you for inviting me today. I'm Ken Gillette, Senior Vice President, Operations for Irvine Company Retail Properties. We're the retail division for the Irvine Company. In the city of Irvine, we operate Irvine Spectrum Center, the Marketplace, and 27 neighborhood and community centers. That makes up about 900 stores, restaurants, and service providers. And I'll tell you that while this time has been very difficult for the community and for our merchants, every one of our shopping centers has remained open, every single one of them. Those that are providing essential goods and services like grocery stores, banks, restaurants with drive-through and pickup service, they've never closed. And now that we've moved into stage 2 of the state's reopening plan, we've had new merchants open every single day. As a matter of fact, as of this morning, we have nearly 500 of our merchants in the city of Irvine are open, serving the community.
Great.
And our team, during this period of time, we've made individual contact with every single one of our merchants. Whether they've been open or closed, we've wanted to touch base with them, understand what their needs are so that we can do what we can on an individual basis to help them. And importantly, we've prepared our shopping centers for a broader rewelcoming of the community once we move into this expanded stage 2. So all of our shopping centers, we have enhanced cleaning in place. All of the high-touch surfaces are being cleaned on an ongoing basis. We've placed hand sanitizer stations throughout our common areas at each of our centers. We'll have physical distancing reminder signs up everywhere, including stairwells and elevators, and even in parking structures. And what's most important, and I'm going to punctuate something that Lucy said earlier, is we need to focus now on what we can do to help these merchants and these restaurateurs restore their business as quickly as possible. And for that, I really want to commend the city leaders. Mayor Shea, you reached out to us several weeks ago and suggested that we look at how could we expand our seating areas to accommodate more al fresco dining for our restaurants. And we have these beautiful common areas, and we're in the process now of removing some common area seating and figuring out where we can put additional tables and chairs so that our diners can come and be social, but at a safe distance from one another. And so we're going to continue during this period of time to really focus on what we can do to help each of our merchants individually.
Thank you very much for that update. I look forward to that. The weather is warming up, so I think this outdoor expanded dining is going to be a great idea, and it helps people psychologically that are a little bit afraid to go out and get too close to folks to have that type of outdoor dining where there's separation. I think that's going to be a very good way to help people enter back into just being more active in the community again. So thank you very much. And this time I'll turn to Caitlin Nguyen, our Manager of Economic Development.
Mayor Shea, Councilmember Fox, thank you so much for having me here today. Good morning, everyone. I'm Caitlin Nguyen, Manager of Economic Development for the City of Irvine. In response to COVID, I have been collaborating very closely with Linda DiMario at the Greater Irvine Chamber of Commerce to help Irvine businesses navigate the flow of information and apply for funding. Linda and I have been communicating regularly with our Irvine businesses to provide our support. We have been disseminating information and directing resources to over 20,000 businesses with a business license in Irvine. Since we have such a large business community, Linda and I started out with conducting a needs assessment. So based on the results of the survey, we hope we were able to assist and provide services that met the needs of our community. When the SBA launched the COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, information was changing on a daily basis. So it was confusing, and our businesses had a lot of questions. So we quickly arranged for the SBA and SBDC to conduct a webinar just for our Irvine businesses and address their questions. The demand for SBA loan program is unprecedented. When the SBA implemented the Paycheck Protection Program, our businesses found it was extremely difficult to get their application accepted. So to help our businesses, what we did is we reached out to community banks, union banks, and we take that information, we put it on an interactive map. So with that resource, a lot of our businesses was able to secure funding. Since informations regarding these programs are still so fluid, we always encourage our business to attend as many webinars as possible, and a lot of those webinars are being done by the SBDC to get up-to-date and accurate information. And in addition to connecting with businesses online, Linda and I have been conducting phone calls to link even more businesses with funding and guide them with applying for relief. Now, as all of you had mentioned earlier, it's all about when can we reopen, right? All these businesses are so anxious to reopen. So we're now shifting our attention to providing resources on recovery and reentry. While there are a lot of programs and resources available for small businesses, a lot of businesses finding assessing information's challenging, especially I found that there's a lot of businesses out there that don't even know these resources exist. So I feel like I'm a champion for our small businesses, and I want to connect with as many businesses as possible to help them. The SBDC does a wonderful job at designing their webinars. So Linda and I will be promoting and encouraging our businesses to attend their upcoming recovery series to help them prepare for reopening. And lastly, I will be working with Linda along with recovery experts who have been recruited by the Chamber to help the most vulnerable businesses navigate the reentry phase. This team will help evaluate each business' unique situation because I found not all restaurants are the same. So you have to really tailor your assistance to them. And so we can get them through this difficult time and be successful when they finally reopen for business. Thank you, Mayor.
You're so welcome, Caitlin, and I personally want to thank you, and I know Councilmember Fox would agree. You're doing a great job on behalf of our city.
Thank you.
Coordinating with the Chamber of Commerce, and we're so very pleased, and I know many businesses are very pleased with all your effort that you've been putting forward for us. So it's great to have an economic development partner right directly in our city. So I also want to say that we're so fortunate to have so many wonderful panelists here today and such a great business, a rich business community and of leaders that are supporting us, helping us keep our city thriving. So thank you again. So at this time, we'll start with our first question. We hope we can get to all of them, but if not, please consider going to our website at cityofirvine.org/COVID-19, and that's cityofirvine.org/COVID-19. We will make sure that we post your questions if we're not able to bring those forward this morning. So the first question is from Pradmod K, and the question is, when can office-based businesses open in Irvine? And I'll just open it up to the panel and just have it interactive, whoever would like to take that question or have another comment to follow. Thank you.
Sure, I'll start off. Businesses that can't, office businesses that can't telework can open now. They can be open now with the proper physical distancing and typical safety protocols. If we can get through and get our attestation to get through phase 2 certification, hopefully this weekend, all office businesses should be able to open up. And that's why it's really important to start that planning now to get ready for the opening.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything to that? If not, I'll turn to Councilmember Fox. Oh, yes.
I'll just say, us personally, the Chamber of Commerce has been operational but working remotely. After Memorial Day weekend, I'm going to give them the staff a little more time over the weekend, but we will be opening the office on Tuesday with the proper distancing and PPE and all of that. So.
And Mayor, if I might add also, do not discount the fact that folks have discovered telework and that we think that it is worthy of incentivizing and continuing on. People do want to be with people and they want to get back to working in an office environment, it's true. But there's great benefits in traffic congestion and air quality and a number of things that will help us on our environmental front if we can also figure out how to make everything work together. So think about that as well as part of our immediate planning for
It's a very
our
good
region.
comment, and I know Councilmember Fox and I were just talking about that we might want to bring that forward as we start to reopen here and open our city hall to talk about a portion of our employees would be able to stay home because the air quality has been great. The traffic congestion has been wonderful, even though there's so many negatives to what we've had to go through, there's been some real positives. So I know that she and I will be bringing that concept forward in the next month or so. So very good point.
Well, these questions have really been on the minds of so many people in our city, and we've just selected a few from those that were sent in, but they really represent many of what has been asked. So in other words, one question may have been asked 10 times, and I have heard this one quite a lot. But before we get started, I have to say about working at home. For the first time, everybody is subject to having interruption. So no longer do we have to pretend that we don't have little family members who run in and take our attention. And it has given us a lot of great moments, but I think overall the bigger picture is we get to bring our whole selves to work. And there's a lot of benefit to that. So looking forward to some of the positives from teleworking.
Good points.
Now, Jenny F. has sent in this great question. We have Reopen OC Safely, which gives a lot of good details on how we can move forward. But what is the plan for businesses who don't fit neatly in a specific sector and have trouble identifying where they fit in reopening?
I'll start with that. It is difficult, right, when they give you four different sentences and that's it for an entire industry. I would say right now, phase 2, early, is low touch. So if your business is low touch with clients, with customers, with your employees, that's where we're at right now. And you need to kind of determine when we go to phase 3, that's obviously a lot more, that's a lot higher touch. That's nail salons, beauty salons, gyms, things like that. So my guess is that 90% of businesses are going to fit somewhere between phase 2 and phase 3. You have to do your best whether you decide to open now or you're not sure. One, you can call us, you can call the governor's office and have that conversation. They're taking calls as well, but I think figuring out how you protect your employees and your customers, as long as you can do that and you're not quite sure where you fit, just make sure that everyone's protected in that. You know, another piece that I don't see questions on, but there's a lot of uncertainty around is insurance and what's covered. So if an employee gets sick at work and I'm not supposed to be open, does my workers' comp cover it? Right? Or if a customer comes in and I'm not supposed to be open, does my liability insurance policy cover that? Right? And those are big questions that have been pushed up to the Insurance Commissioner of California to try to answer that we haven't gotten answers for. But, you know, back to the question at hand was, you know, try to figure out whether you're low touch or high touch and then making sure that you're safe in the environment.
I think you make a really good point that it's a lot of common sense. But we also have to be aware, as Ken just said, that we're kind of a litigious state. With anybody that wants to file a lawsuit to challenge you, you can. And so do use common sense, do double check everything, and you know, make sure that you can document that health is a priority for not only your customers, but your employees. I've had one bank ask me, Lucy, if a customer doesn't wear a mask coming in, should we provide masks? Should we decline service? And the bottom line is, it's almost a legal question, but the issue is no, an employee of the bank, health, they should be able to decline service if you don't wear a mask. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. As for being sort of not quite in any one category, the website, the web link that you can go to make your case heard is input.covid19.ca.gov. And you can actually make your case there just to get clarification. If you have any difficulty, of course, I know Irvine Chamber, OCBC, we can contact GoBiz at the governor's office, the governor's business group, and we can try to make that case as well for you.
Thank you very much for that information.
Mayor,
Appreciate it.
Lucy, on that point, I appreciate that very much. And I know there's a lot of concerns about workplace liability, and the Chamber certainly, for anyone listening and all the business community here in Irvine, we have resources available to help explain what that liability might be and how to overcome it. You go to Lucy's resource page, or you can come directly to the Greater Irvine Chamber website, or you can contact us and we can help you with that.
Another resource for business is they can call the state directly at 833-4CA-4ALL. and they can have a live person ask the questions that they need, and they can help us through navigate through the webpage, because there's a lot of information. They can drill in, and depending on their sector, they can then make a determination on their own whether they could reopen, as long as they meet the requirements and the guidelines of the state.
Wonderful, thank you. And now we'll go to Josh G. What is being done about rent relief for businesses that were forced to shut down and due to the new social distancing requirements cannot operate the business at a capacity level for viability?
I'll take that one.
Okay, Ken, go ahead. You look like you're going to jump on that. And
Yes. It was on March 19th that the governor issued the stay-at-home order. On Sunday, March 22nd, we reached out to each of our merchants, those that were impacted, and we offered them a rent deferral option, offering 3 months of rent deferral to be paid back over 12 months, interest-free, starting next year in January. We needed to do that to provide some immediate financial relief to these merchants whose businesses were immediately turned upside down. In addition, we've offered webinars with not only the OC SBDC, but also with PricewaterhouseCoopers and with US Bank, trying to help our merchants find a path to navigating the CARES Act and being able to find somebody that can help them with the application process. We've also continued to work with the OC SBDC in coordinating webinars, these weekly webinars for retailers and restaurateurs, so that they can take this downtime and really sharpen their business skills and learn how to reinvent what their business is going to be upon reopening. But I'm going to go back to something that Lucy said earlier and we talked about. It's really important for all of us to focus on what we can do to support these businesses that are open now and more as they come online. So we've been, again, we're working with the city staff on expanding restaurant seating areas. Maybe someday we'll have al fresco fitness programs out in the common areas. We are also actively promoting through emails almost on a daily basis and through various social media the interesting programs that have been put in place, whether that's our curbside pickup services. A lot of our restaurants are offering special family meal packages and the like. So we're going to continue to really focus on what we can do to help these restaurateurs and merchants start generating the kind of business they need to.
that's wonderful. And now we'll turn to you,
Mayor,
Council-
can I
Oh,
add
yes,
just
sure, please, go
a
right
couple
ahead.
more little quick points, because that was terrific. I just want to, businesses will fall into maybe one of three categories. They're businesses that are just paying their rent, notwithstanding the hard times. Good for them. There's businesses that will call their landlords, and most of those landlords will be put on notice, and most of those landlords will negotiate a deal because they understand that this is a tough time. And then there are businesses that don't pay their rent and don't call their landlords. Don't be in the third category. Be in category 1 or 2. Most of the landlords, most of the commercial operations I know recognize that this is an opportunity to do the right thing. And on top of that, if your business is located in many different cities, different cities have different rent moratoria that are happening right now, in addition to at the state level. So this is a little tricky one, but the first step, call your landlord, and I give them some credit to try to do the right thing.
Very good point. Thank you. We'll turn over to Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. Now, this is a question that's right top of mind for all of us as city council members and the mayor. The question is, do either the city or the county plan to use the CARES Act money, which has been allocated for grants, funds, or loans, to give directly to small businesses in Irvine? Now, this is top of mind because we as council members and the mayor have argued that we should be receiving this money and to be able to distribute it to our businesses. At this point, it's all been with the county and not any of it has been distributed to businesses. So we have been trying to press to get that money directly into the hands of small businesses. But let's say that we are not successful. We haven't been so far. We know what the county will be doing to get that money directly to our small businesses who need it immediately?
I guess I'll start with that one. Yeah, so we're working with a lot of cities, helping them develop their own grant or loan programs. Interestingly enough, this morning we launched a $10,000 grant program in Buena Park. They took $510,000 of CDBG CARES Act funding that they received and repositioned it to micro businesses in their city. We also launched this morning a forgivable loan program for 100 businesses in the city of Anaheim. They had about $1 million of the same money, CDBG CARES Act money. We've worked with the city of the county of San Bernardino and the county of Riverside. They both have two different products. In San Bernardino, they are doing $2,500 grants for PPE for businesses, and they're trying to touch 12,000 businesses throughout the county. And then in Riverside, they're doing $20,000 grants and trying to touch 2,000 businesses. So we've helped assist them in those things, but we're working right now with about 10 different cities in Orange County to develop their own grant programs. So we'd love to do that here in Irvine as well.
And then if I may add on to that, the County of Orange just actually debated this week on Tuesday different proposals for $75 million for small business. As I was listening to the conversation and chatting with a couple of the supervisors, the difference in the proposals, there's 4 different definitions for small business. They didn't have guidelines set. So they're taking a look at that now. And candidly, $75 million, you know, it sounds like a lot of money, but spread out over 5 districts, it's really, you know, small $500,000 grants here and there that the county would have to be accountable for. So stay tuned on that. They directed the CEO of the county to develop a couple of proposals for the supervisors to look at, to see. It's coming your way. We do believe that there'll be some funding. And the good news is, at least I think they dedicated something like $26 million directly to cities for COVID impacts, at least on Tuesday. But the good news, another good news piece is that the Orange County Workforce Development Board just received $700,000 for a COVID-19 layoff aversion support program. Eligible small businesses can receive up to $10,000 in grant funds. It opened today. OC One Stop, all one word, oconestop.com, apply. Get online and apply. And, you know, it's going to take a lot of this stuff to keep our small business going. At OCBC, we still think all ships rise when we just get this county opened as quickly as possible. So that's what we're working on as well. But there's, stay tuned on that $75 million CARES Act. Start working with the Workforce Development Board right away, because that's available now.
Thank you, Lucy. You know, I serve on a mayor's council with all mayors in Orange County. We sent a letter to the Board of Supervisors because maybe 3 weeks ago they received $550 million of CARE money, and none of us have gotten any of it.
Right.
So we really have been very frustrated about the lack of distribution of that money. We're really hoping at least the $75 million, though it would be somewhat thinly spread around the county and our cities, it still would be something that our city could offer, you know, a certain amount of incentive to give to, or stimulus to give to our local businesses, which I know we would love to do. So we're really pressing our supervisors to try to make sure that that happens as soon as possible.
I love that idea, Mayor. And in fact, especially if a city and the county figure out how to take a $500 grant and leverage it for a $5,000 loan. So that way, business has more than just, you know, you barely paying the rent at $500 with a one-time deal, but to figure out a way to leverage the money so a small business can get even more.
Right.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Every
Thank you for your
dollar
leadership.
counts, and we want to do everything we can. And we have been working, and I certainly have, along with council members, to really do. As you mentioned earlier, we're working 12, 13 hours a day. I'm working more now than I ever was before, really trying to support and help our businesses and help our residents whatever way we can. So our next question is from Mark F. What are reasonable expectations for private schools and tutoring centers like our business to reopen? Some of these may not have a long answer to them, but I would assume, would it be just to go to the state site and see, or does someone have a response to
I can give you a response. My wife is a Catholic school teacher for first grade, and she probably, like you guys, is working more now virtually than she ever has, trying to corral 20 first graders into a virtual setting. Imagine that. But, I think, as private schools, I think that's the hard thing for them, right? I mean, as parents are paying tuition for their kids to go to school, they have to figure out a way to keep them engaged while they can't go back to school. So I'm not sure when the plan is to open up these schools, but I think thinking differently to Ken's point of, can it be virtual? Can you offer things that public schools can't offer, whether it be one-on-one assistance during the day or evenings or on the weekends? If you're a tutoring center, I think people are used to virtual now. In 2 months, I think everyone has been educated how to use virtual technology. I think there are ways to think differently that you can still be a relevant business virtually in the short term.
That's a really good answer, because even the public schools are still getting state funding to operate, even though the teachers are at home and the students are at home. So I can understand that answer really would reflect on private schools and tutoring centers, that the parents would still be, if they have a job and they're able to financially support it, they could still be, supporting the centers.
Mayor, you might also have them check the state guidelines and industry suggestions for daycare centers, because there may be some match there, some marrying of those standards. And again, at Reopen OC Safely, you can see those industry standards there. In addition, the Orange County Department of Ed is just putting together a task force on how to open public schools safely.
Right.
So keep an eye out for that latest information to see if that will as well help.
Very good point. Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. Now, I think we asked this question already about incentives from the city directly to businesses. And so if we move on to question number 8, that question is broken into a couple of pieces. It's from Betsy L. The first part where we talked about what Main Street lending programs are available, what state and local grants are available, again, was answered earlier, but there's 2 parts to number 8, which we haven't talked about. Number 1, is there a standard handbook available for businesses to reopen for employees? And will there be new protocols for existing transportation systems within the Spectrum area?
So for business and a handbook, I'll start that part. For a standard handbook for reopening and to take care of your employees, OSHA has a standard handbook that is very comprehensive and very hard to understand for small businesses that have, just a few employees. They don't want a manual. You need Rosetta Stone to figure it out. I think what the governor's office has created some really small checklists for businesses to, at minimum, take care of employees. And I think as a business owner, you really have to understand what you have to do as you bring your employees back. I mean, they have to self-certify that they don't feel sick each time they come back from a shift, that they feel that they don't have any of the symptoms of COVID. You really have to understand what you have to do as an employer right now. But there are some really simple checklists from the governor's office, from GoBiz, that you can download, and we also have them on our site as well.
Thank you. I think we already answered the questions about the grants. But there was a second half about changes to transportation. I mean, we know that, we suspect that transportation was a key transmitter or a key factor in transmissions in New York. So is there anything that we're doing locally, new protocols within the Spectrum area or maybe on the iShuttle that are going to be helping us to keep the vectors from spreading when we go back to work?
Well, I in my volunteer capacity, I sit on the California Transportation Commission, and delighted to be able to advocate for City of Irvine funding for transportation. I also, and I've chatted with the mayor about this too, before the great pandemic, we were talking about how brilliant Irvine's robust transportation systems were, that you didn't have to necessarily rely on a car, but you could take just one trip a week using iShuttle or Spectrum Motion or the bikes that are supplied at every Irvine company, office property that are available, plus the robust trail system and sidewalks, and it is America's safest city for how many years? 15 years now? So
Yes.
Irvine is phenomenal. But yes, indeed, in talking with the Federal Highway Administrator just 2 weeks ago, she said, we're all going to be relying a lot on our highways for a long time and our road systems, because how you maintain physical distancing on shuttles and transit is still a work in progress. We still need funding for them to keep them operating, but at the same time, this is why I advocated earlier to really take a look at telework and telehealth and teleeducation and whatever we need to do to kind of make up for that lag time in getting our transit systems back where they feel, where customers will come. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? Is will riders be able to come? Now, to the credit of OCTA, they clean those buses every evening. They make sure their drivers are wearing masks. They ask you to wear masks coming on. So essential workers that need that transportation system, it is there for you. But it is dearly in need of funding, because clearly the fare box isn't helping right now. And frankly, transit was declining before the great pandemic, right? So we've got to be smart and creative, and this is why Irvine is Irvine, because you are the leaders in innovation here. And I know we will find a path.
Thank you. So we'll go back to question 7. Please send info of legit sites to apply for business assistance, especially small biz/independent contractors. I think we might have touched on that, but if we want to just mention that one more time, maybe there's a couple numbers we could provide. Who would like to take that?
Well, maybe I can start and Mr. Daniel can add on to that. I get a lot of independent contractors calling me and want to find out what kind of programs out there for them. The first one that I can think of is the Paycheck Protection Program. They could apply. It's a loan program that is at 1% interest rate, and the term is up to 2 years. Businesses can apply up to $10 million. And there is a forgiven provision in this loan program if they applied up to 8 weeks of payroll to, or the proceed to the payroll, then that portion would be forgiven. And anything outside of that, then of course, it's a loan. And another thing that I also mentioned to individuals that call me too is the pandemic unemployment assistant. They can go onto the state EDD website. But I know that a lot of calls is that it's very frustrating for people to apply is because the demand is really high. But those are the two things that independent contractors would be eligible to apply.
Yeah, Caitlin, you're spot on. The Paycheck Protection Program is still open. There's still about $100 billion left in that pool. For an independent contractor that files a 1040, you'd go to line 31 and you take that wage, divide by 12, and multiply by 2.5. Don't ask me where they got that calculation from, but that's what it is. And that's the max that you would qualify for. And there are still a lot of lenders that are out there with this money. There are community-based lenders. There's locally, there's Clearinghouse CDFI, which is in Lake Forest. There's AMPAC CDC, which is in Grand Terrace in San Bernardino. There's PayPal Online, there's Lendio, there's Kabbage, Kabbage. These are all lenders that don't need your relationship, that are doing small dollar amount loans from a couple $1,000s to $50,000 or $60,000 for Paycheck Protection Program. So if you've been frustrated by a large lender, let us help you find the right one, or use any of the ones I just mentioned. And then pandemic unemployment assistance, absolutely. It's $600 a week for 16 weeks. And the frustration, obviously, just like the SBA is overwhelmed with idle funding applications, EDD is overwhelmed, but it is retroactive to February 2nd. So even if you didn't get a hold of somebody, as long as you put your application in, it will go backwards.
And also, just to reiterate, I said it earlier before, but just in case you missed it, the Orange County Workforce Development Board, apply today at oc1stop.com for layoff aversion support program. Eligible small businesses can receive up to $10,000 in grant funds. So,
Wonderful, thank
get
you.
that one.
We,
And
now we
we've
have
put a-
four, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just
go
going to
ahead,
share
finish
that
your-
we've put a summary of COVID-19 business and workforce-related programs, resources on our website. So if you go to irvinecompany.com, there's a resources tab, and we update that with information as we're getting it. So for example, we learned last night about this County of Orange grant that Lucy's talking about. We're going to post that on our website, and we're going to share this information with our merchants.
Wonderful. We have four more questions, so our time's getting close to, I don't know how much time staff has prepared for us, but probably another 10 minutes. Would we have that time? Okay, so let me just say, this question's from Zihai L. But we've already answered it, but I do want to read the question. Can the city provide business owners rent relief? We did answer that question, but I wanted to make sure that they understood that we had already talked about that. So I'll turn to Councilmember Fox for question 10.
Donald M. asks, he says he's a partner in 4 different businesses, and they each have different ownerships and different federal tax IDs. But when he applied for the EIDL advance of $10,000, and as he was suggested to do so by the SBA, he only received one $10,000 advance. And then that was withdrawn because he received an email saying that he had previously applied. So even though there were separate businesses with different ownerships, because there was one individual with one ownership interest in multiple companies, the one loan that was granted was taken away. Can we explain why that happened and how to prevent that to happen to others?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of misinformation around the economic injury disaster loan, and it's really built around your social security number, and that's probably why they got denied for it looks like all of them. So what they need to do is contact the district office of the SBA, or they can contact me directly, and I will help them through that process. But they absolutely can put their loan back in, their loan request back in, and they should at least receive one advance and one loan. The other 3, it depends on the ownership. If they're less than 20%, then they might qualify for the other 3. But if they're more than 20%, they probably will only receive one of them.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So 2 more questions. My question is from Don H., probably for Ken Gillette. It says, do you foresee adoption of an eviction moratorium for commercial property? What concessions are you expecting commercial landlords and tenants to accept? Are there plans to help Irvine residents or restaurants and hospitality businesses? So I know part of that might be on the city of Irvine, but I would like to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, I understand that there is a temporary moratorium on unlawful detainer actions. And I think I mentioned before, we've reached out to the merchants in our portfolio, those that have been impacted, and we immediately offered financial relief through this 3-month deferral program. Now we're turning our focus to helping these merchants get their stores, their restaurants, back open and operating and generating revenues and bringing their staffs back. And that's been our focus. And we continue to work with the city of Irvine and the staff at helping us look for innovative ways to do that so that it's safe and effective.
Thank you. The city of Irvine did institute an eviction moratorium. We're going month by month. As business starts to open up, we will loosen up on that as well, but we want to make sure people are, our businesses are in a place that they're feeling safe, they're comfortable, and we don't approach it too drastically. So I'll turn this to Councilmember Fox, and this will be our last question.
And this question is from Dean H. In Irvine, we have many houses of worship, and so I know that this is going to be on the minds of many as we have been worshiping in our homes, and we're going to be looking to come together as a community as soon as it's safe to do so. So can you please provide guidance on the expected timeline and/or criteria needed to be achieved for religious organizations to start meeting publicly within social distance guidelines? And what would the capacity restrictions start at?
Okay, they're looking at me. And I actually love this question because my church is in Irvine, and it's funny because I was sharing with Brian earlier, even our choir is doing virtual performances and emailing in our little videos in order to keep our services going. So church services, religious services are in phase 3 currently. There will have to be some form of physical distancing requirements. There are some guidelines that have been sort of kicked around on the state's website. I would stay tuned to that and start preparing as best you can, and also be sure that you religious organizations as well populate the governor's conversation privately, make that happen privately to see how your plan can actually help every organization in the state. I also share that the Department of Justice just recently sent a letter to the governor saying, this is a First Amendment issue and you can't declare them not essential. So I would expect a little bit more movement, a little quicker, particularly as our health numbers continue to stabilize.
Right.
And don't lose heart. It's all coming, and I would say not months, but weeks. And so stay tuned.
Wonderful. Any other comments? Well, at this time, we will be ending our town hall meeting. I want to thank all of our panelists for your efforts today to support our residents, to come out during your busy schedules and to make the time to be a part of solution-based questions and answers. And I want to thank Councilmember Fox and our staff as well, Caitlin Nguyen, for participating, and also to all of our community members that put in questions and have been watching our WebEx. I've been trying to host these WebEx every other week just to make sure that we are updating our residents, our community to what's going on here in the city. And again, you can always reach out on our webpage. You can call the city. We have a number, 724-8025. If you have any needs, any concerns, we're always here to help you. We care about you. We love our community. And if there's anything we can do to help you, please contact us. And thank you once again for attending.